Starting out the episode is the next mini-quest, the General's Shadow. A small recap before we start. In 2002, we saved a family from the clutches of General Khazard's fight arena. We had to fight various monsters and finished by killing the General's pet hellhound Bouncer. Then, in 2006, after getting the Ring of Visibility and freeing Aznadra, an incredibly powerful Zerosian devout, we were able to speak with and learn the story of multiple people directly related to Zaros' downfall. Each one we talked to gave us insight on their involvement in Zamorak acquiring the Staff of Armadil, leading up to his betrayal of his master, Zaros. Each spirit also gave us a piece of the ghostly robes, gear that lets us slip a little bit into the Shadow Realm. While wearing the Ring of Visibility, we find General Khazard. We try and talk to him, but he's talking like a ghost. We head to the bank and grab our Ghost Speak amulet, then talk to him again, and he tells us that we're not of the shadows. He says to be of the Shadow Realm, we must be less opaque. We put on our robes, and he tells us to explain how we can walk and talk in the Shadow Realm while being a living human. He doesn't recognize us, admitting he can never tell humans apart. Still, he says he can't trust us. We ask how to gain his trust. He says if we speak with Sinclair and get judged as trustworthy, he could have a use for us. We go to the Seer's village and speak with Sinclair. She says she doesn't know if she can be bothered. We bribe her with 40 gold. She mentions Khazard will know it's a lie, but gives us a note anyway. We can't make out her handwriting. We give it to Khazard, and he says he needs to know the goings-on of the world. We sent 4 scouts to gather information from the shadows. One is in the land of the gnomes, one in a jungle, one where the White Knights rule, and one in a place he once called home, a place of great heat. He says he will entrust us with a message to deliver to all 4 of them. We will meet in the place of half-light and ice soon. Beware of the others, for though they are weak and few, they are cunning. First we head to Taibuawane to find the Jungle Scout. He's a ghost who works for Khazard. We ask him why we have to use a Ghost Speak amulet to talk to the General. He says those who walk fully in the Shadow Realm become warped and speak like ghosts. We give him the message, and he tells us he's been investigating as to why the people in the village returned after being scared away by their gods. Something we helped with a few years ago. Second, we find the scout to the south of the Tree Gnome stronghold. We give him the message, and he mentions that Khazard is going to wage war against the living. He mentions something about the Hiziel cult that we thwarted a long time ago, and also that the gnomes are having peaceful times right now after Gluff lost his position. We find the third one outside of Falador. We tell him the message, and he mentions the slaughter. We ask what he means, but he won't tell us. He mentions he learned that Count Draenor was slain, and he hasn't learned anything else. Finally, the 4th scout is near Chante Pass. We give him the message, and he says Khazard used to live here under his evil lord and master. We ask him who his master was, but he won't say. He mentioned that there's no fighting in the desert right now, but Al-Kharid and Minifos can be roused to war if needed, and that the prisoner of Yaldrocht is free, and also someone had discovered the buried temple. All 3 we're responsible for. He mentions he's surprised that the general would talk to someone he didn't know. We tell him that we think Khazard is crazy and butchered innocent people in his arena, and we killed his dog. He tells us to go back to Khazard and deliver him a message. We of the blood are still loyal. Pavlov is the messenger. We give the message to Khazard, and he tells us we need to be rewarded. In a cave near Ardorian, we should go to the East Branch and seek out the one in the Shadow Realm who will reward us. He also gives us a severed human leg, which he says is a key. We find a crevice inside the Goblin Cave and get a bad feeling, but we enter anyway. We're attacked once again by Bouncer, this time as a ghost. We easily take him down by distracting him with the severed leg, then going in for the kill. Mini quest complete, and we're rewarded with the Shadow Sword, completing our ghostly outfit. We confront Khazard, who doesn't really care about anything we have to say. Quest number 120, Tower of Life. South of Ardorian is a newly constructed tower. Standing outside are 4 blue-collar workers and 3 alchemists. We talk to Effigy, who tells us that this is the Tower of Life. He explains us that what they're using it for will change the world, but apparently there's some delays. We notice the builders are just standing around. Effigy says they're on strike because the tower is too weird. He asks us to talk to them for him, or even finish the tower. He tells us to talk to Bonafido, the head builder. Before we go, he realizes he recognizes us from Joral's outpost. Apparently, the king was going to make it into an alchemy lab before we saved it. We talked to Bonafido, the 5th worker that we didn't notice before. He explains they're not working until the alchemists explain what they're using the tower for. Further, he won't let us in because only builders are allowed in, and we don't look like one. He tells us to come back with a hard hat, trousers, a shirt, and some boots. Do we need to join the union too? We talk to all the workers nearby to get their clothes. The Guns trades his shirt that he's never worn for a beer. No Fingers won't give up his boots, but we steal them from him while he's not paying attention. Gummy tells us a storm blew away a pair of trousers by the shore. We find them in a bush. And finally, Black Eye gives us his hard hat after we answer a few questions about construction. We talk again with Bonafido, who makes sure we've got the mental fortitude to be a builder by asking some more questions. We tell him what he wants to hear, and he allows us inside. He tells us that there's a pipe system, a pressure machine, and a cage that all need to be finished. We take 4 colored balls, 3 metal sheets, and 4 valve wheels and head upstairs. We put all those parts into this machine, but it still needs calibrating. We can see there are some holes in the pipes that need to be filled. We configure the levers in a specific way so we can turn each wheel, then float the balls into the holes until the machine starts working. Next, we grab 4 pipes, 5 pipe rings, and 6 rivets. We take those up another floor to find the pipe machine. This one we just have to put the pipes in place and rotate them appropriately. For the last machine, we need 5 metal bars and 4 binding fluid. We bring those to the top of the tower and add them to the cage, then place and glue them appropriately into it. Now that we've completed the tower, we tell Effigy. The alchemists are so excited they rush to the top of the tower. We go up behind them and witness them complete a ritual to take the next step in alchemy, the creation of life. We see them create and imprison a homunculus. It talks, it's clearly in pain, and demands to be set free. They don't care that it's hurting. It demands again to be set free. They tell it to be quiet. It lashes out and the alchemists flee. We confront them. Effigy says that maybe we can talk to it. We head back up to the top of the tower and speak with the pitiful being. It says it's confused, it sees logic and feels magic. We provide answers to a variety of questions, pushing it towards the world of magic, which helped it organize its thoughts to see the truth in both magic and logic. It tells us that it needs to scare the alchemists so they never attempt something like this again. It offers them a chance to explain their plans to it. They explain they're using the magics of Guthix and the logic of man to create life. The homunculus tells them to leave and never come back. It asks us to meet it in the dungeon. We climb down the trapdoor inside and find a huge expanse filled with lab equipment. Behind the homunculus is a power well the alchemists were tapping into. He says he can use it to create monsters, and he'll let us make our own as a reward. Quest complete. Recap. Back in 2005, we helped a mad scientist named Finkenstrain reanimate a stitched-together corpse. The brain of the corpse belonged to Lord Rologarth, who ruled over a part of Mauritania a long time ago. We found out that Finkenstrain was keeping the Canifist werewolves at bay using an enchanted ring called the Ring of Karos. We stole it from him, and he fled to the top of the castle, desperately avoiding the bloodthirsty wolves. He's been stuck there ever since. Then, later that year, we helped Captain Braindeath make a batch of the finest, most potent, most flammable, and most debilitating rum in the whole of RuneScape. He needed the help because his island was overrun with zombie pirates who were picketing his brewery. We gave the brew to the leader of the zombies, Captain Donnie, who revealed to us that he was working for Rabid Jack. Finally, in 2006, we helped Bill Teach fight off and sink a rival ship on the way to Mostly Harmless, a safe haven for pirates. Quest number 121, The Great Brain Robbery. We charted a Mostly Harmless and find a monk that looks a bit unwell by the dock. He says he's looking for a bold and true adventurer to help him, but he says we can't talk here. He says he's part of a small order from a tiny island nearby and they have a problem with undead pirates. He says he'll take us to the island, and we flinch. He asks what's wrong. We tell him we usually get a thumping pain on the back of our head when we go to an island with undead pirates. Anyway, he teleports us to a flour mill full of undead monks. Well, with 2 at least. They say they're Ceredominus and use this island to translate books. This morning, a ship crashed into their island and zombie pirates flooded out, following orders from a zombie they called Migor. A couple monks were dragged away and woke up zombified and heard Migor bragging about creating a zombie that had a rotless brain. Brother Tranquility here was able to rescue the other monks and run into this granary, and also recover their brainless bodies. They're in the cellar below. Apparently, Migor called the zombie pirates off before they stormed in here. Brother Tranquility tells us there's a secret tunnel under the statue in the garden that leads into the monastery. We head out and find the statue, pulling it back and climbing into the tunnel. We find a flooded cavern and equip our diving gear. We run past the zombies and repair the staircase at the end, then climb into the monastery secret room, and peek through the peephole. We hear who we assume to be Migor saying the captain summoned him down below. He's asking for the status of gas production? A pirate says it's going well, but he's clearly lying and Migor picks up on it. Apparently, they need more ingredients to blanket the island. The pirate says they could take out the monks if Migor just lets them storm the granary, and even that thing of his could hammer the wall down. Migor threatens him with time in the box for not following Rabbit Jack's orders. Rabbit Jack, there's that name again. The pirate refers to Migor as Surgeon General and says the gas will be ready and the monks will take a nap for a week when they smell it. Apparently that's important for the next stage and it will prevent rebellion. So that's what this is about. Rabbit Jack needs a crew of zombies without brain rot, and he's using the monks as test subjects. We run back through the flooded tunnel and tell Brother Tranquility what we heard. He believes he knows of something to protect him. A centuries-old prayer held in Edgeville Monastery designed by a priest to provide deliverance from fumes from the deep wilderness. We head to the Edgeville Monastery and find the prayer book in the bookcase. The book tells us to wear a blessed symbol and pray in a loud, clear voice to be relieved of poison, exchanging prayer points to do so. We return to Brother Tranquility and he asks if we said the words when we took the book from the shelf. We have no idea what he's talking about. The words of power that would prevent something he forgot to warn us about. Apparently we're cursed by Saradomin now. He takes us back to Harmony Island and we all chant the prayer, preventing the gas from affecting us inside the granary. Next he wants us to help them get their original bodies back. He asks us to bring them Dr. Finkenstrain. We ask what he would want with an evil brain surgeon. He says that besides the obvious, this would allow him to finally atone for his sins, plus he'll probably be more than willing to escape the werewolves. We head to Castle Rolligarth and find Finkenstrain at the top of the tower hiding from the wolves. We offer him the deal of a lifetime, brain surgery, in exchange for his life being spared. We tell him the situation, he thinks we're crazy, but clearly has no other options. He accepts, but he says we'll need to find a way to get him past the wolves. He's allergic to teleporting, and a disguise won't hide his scent. He says Rufus can help us, the meat shop owner in Canifus. He says he can hide in a crate of meat that's meant to be delivered. We talk to Rufus while wearing the Ring of Karos and ask him to deliver a crate of meat to Mostly Harmless. He agrees as long as he can inspect it first, as his brand depends on only selling the freshest meat. Further, he will only ship it if it's still alive, apparently. He finds out that we're shipping cats, also, apparently. He hands us a whistle to call him once we get the crate ready, with the cats inside. As we're leaving, an adventurer nearby just so happens to walk along with a clockwork cat toy following them. This gives us an idea. We head to the grizzly habitat outside the Legends Guild and kill 10 bears for the fur, then make 10 wooden cats on our in-home workbench. We take them and we build the crate, creating a fake bottom for him to hide in, and stuff the cats inside along with Dr. Finkenstrain. We fool Rufus with the help of Finkenstrain and the Ring of Karos, and he gives us the shipping order. We slap it on the crate and it teleports away. We rush back to Harmony Island. Apparently, he got quite sick, but is now here and ready to help once we give him the appropriate medical equipment. He needs a cranial clamp, a pair of brain tongs, 3 bell jars, and 30 skull staples, and a hammer. He says the zombies in the monastery should have them, as how else would they have swapped the brains in the first place? Unfortunately, the secret tunnel has been sealed off, and the front of the monastery is blocked off as well. We get the idea to blow a hole in the monastery using the crash ship's cannon firing materials. We wear our diving gear to protect us from the gas and we board the ship. We grab a fuse and a powder keg, then place them on the boarded up door. We light the fuse and blow it up. We rush in, slay the scrubbed up zombies, and loot their medical equipment. We give it all to Finkenstrain. He asks us to observe and take notes. The following event is so gruesome, I have replaced it with this video of my beautiful dog Jinx eating a delicious bone. RS3 Released, however, is permanently traumatized. We talk with Brother Tranquility, who has the mother of all headaches. We say we're going to kill off Migor, and he warns us that he has a big bodyguard and tells us to prepare first. We go to the monastery and confront Migor. He sicks his bodyguard on us, a gigantic undead monstrosity wielding an anchor. He calls it the barrel chest. He escapes, and the fight begins. It slams us with its anchor, preventing us from praying due to the raw power of its attacks. It also shoots cannonballs up in the ceiling, making debris fall down on us. We take it out with relative ease and pick up its broken anchor. We return to Brother Tranquility and ask if he knows who Rabbit Jack is. He says he's heard the name from a fevered pirate on the island, but everyone else refused to talk about it. The pirates clearly know, but won't talk, but that's for another time. For now, quest complete. Wait, what was that? Must be the locust. Quest number 122, What Lies Below. South of Varrock, we find a man standing next to a broken cart. We say hello, and he introduces himself as Rat Burgess. He's a traitor by nature and was attacked by outlaws. They stole some important papers he needs. We offer to get them back, and he tells us they mentioned having a small campsite west of the Grand Exchange. The Grand what now? We'll just say east of Edgeville. He hands us a folder to put the pages into once we get all 5 back. We run towards Edgeville from Varrock and find the outlaws. We begin cutting them down and find a page on all 5 we kill. We try to read one, but it's just accounting mumbo-jumbo no reasonable human being can possibly understand. We put them into the folder and deliver it to Rat. He says he liked how we handled the situation and goes to tell us a secret. But we blow it, and instead he offers us another job. He tells us to deliver a letter to a wizard named Surrock Magus inside the palace library. He tells us it's in another language, and sure enough, it is. We find the wizard Magus and give him the letter. He reads it and it's struck by lightning. We ask him why he did that, but he won't tell. He instead tells us he's trying to discover ancient magics in this library. He's learned how to turn clay into solid gold. He says he'll share with us if we get him some reagents. He needs a bowl and a metal wand infused with chaos magic. He gives us a wand and tells us to bring it to the Chaos Rune altar and infuse it along with 15 Chaos Runes on the altar. He says we'll also need a Chaos Talisman or tiara. Furthermore, he says there's an old tome somewhere in the library that tells of a safe route to the Chaos Altar without needing to enter the wilderness. And finally, he hands me a diary he acquired. We start with the diary. It's signed by Sinclair Magus. The diary shows he's clearly a Zamorakian wizard. An elder named Dagath has led a group of them on a long journey that will end with Zamorak rewarding them. The remaining hidden from the priests of Saradomin, they plan to take control of a city, calling themselves the Dagon High. They impersonated Saradominist priests, created a statue of Saradomin just outside said city, to the east of it, and beneath it is the entrance to a tunnel of chaos. Sinkath was chosen by the Elder to be the next Hierarch, the leader of a ceremony they will be undertaking. However, the incantation was discovered by a guard and the ritual was stopped. They fled the city and many of their elders were slain, leaving only Sinkath and Dagath. Sinkath destroyed the entrance of the chaos tunnels, saving us and dooming us in one breath. There's only one place for us to go now. We put the diary down and find the book Surrock was talking about, titled The Fall of the Dagon High. It says the Dagon High are Zamorakian mages practicing in Varrock. They were forced out by Saradominist priests, and had to practice in secret. There was a cold war between the Zamorakians and the Saradominists until the Wizard's Tower burned to the ground, causing the people of Varrock to persecute the Dagon High. Most of them were killed, but the survivors planned revenge against the peoples of Varrock. However, as fate would have it, as the Dagon High were commencing the ritual, the guardsmen from the diary found and stopped their attempt. The straggling remains of the Dagon High ran towards the Saradomin statue to the east before they disappeared. Nobody knows where they ended up. We grab our pickaxe and head towards the statue of Saradomin, and break into it. We delve into the chasm and find a long tunnel. We find a man inside named Miskal Undorn. He says they are the Order of the Dagon High. He can see into the future and knows what we're going to say before we say it. We talk to another man who's much less welcoming. We tell him we're looking for the Chaos Altar. He says it's just a bit further down. We talk to the third person who asks what brings us here. We ask him where here is. He says we're in the tunnels of chaos that radiate with energy of chaos magic. At the end of the tunnel is a portal to the Chaos Altar. We ask how that's possible if the tunnel is so short. He says that it is due to the nature of chaos. We mention he is awfully nice for a Zamorakian. He tells us history is written by the strong, and we shouldn't always believe what we're told to. We try and use the portal, but as Surrock said, we'll need a Chaos Talisman. Unfortunately, we don't have one, so we instead talk with our old friend the Zamorakian Mage, and use our much riskier passage through the Abyss. Actually, you know what? I think we're gonna get a Talisman. These things all drop it at a rate of 1 in 128. Shouldn't be too bad. 160 kills later. See? Not too bad. We take it back to the portal in the Chaos Tunnels and find ourselves at the altar. Well, above it, at least. We eventually make our way down and craft some Chaos Runes, then infuse them into the wand. We deliver the wand and the bowl to Surrock. He says he's going to prepare the spell now, and asks for us to deliver a letter to Rat. We read it, it says, "To my business partner, all is well here, my friend. I will continue with my work. You do not need to worry. They suspect nothing. The fools! In 3 days, there will be a new king in Varrock. Surrock Magus." We confront Surrock and say we'll report him to the king. He says the king won't believe us, and if we still want the gold he promised, we'll do as he says. He says together we can rule Mistalin. We ask who he really is. He says he's incredibly powerful, and if we want to live, we'll deliver the letter. Somehow this convinces us and we do as he says. We even try to give the letter to the king, but he won't hear any of it. We instead go to Rat and confront him about the plot to overthrow the king. We give him the letter, and he tells us his secret. He's the commander of the Varrock Palace Secret Guard. They had received intelligence that Surak Magus had discovered a powerful mind control spell that he intends to use on King Rold in order to take control of Misselin. Apparently he's harmless though because the reagents are hard to get, and he's not allowed to leave the library. We tell him that we got them for him, and he tells us he knows and we need to stop him. They have a counteracting measure for the mind control spell, and he tells us to visit Zaf, the staff shop owner. We do, and he says he's created and prepared the spell. He says we need to weaken the king by fighting him until he's near death for the spell to work. He says once we have him low, use this ring that he's about to give us to summon him. He also mentions that Rat made us an honorary member of the VPSG, so we have the authority to arrest Surak. We go back into the library. Surak had a change of wardrobe. We tell him he's under arrest. He confesses he's the descendant of Sinclair, and is the rightful heir to the Dagon High Order. The king enters the room and Surak casts his spell. Uh-oh! King Rold looks evil! The king, well, he's just a rather weak guy, so we precisely nearly kill him, and Zaf comes in to cure him and teleport him away. Surak tries to escape, but Zaf teleblocks him and tells him that he will be confined to this room for the foreseeable future. We head back to Rat. He says they'll be watching Surak much more closely from now on. He rewards us with some XP lamps. Quest complete. Quest number 123, Olaf's Quest. Near the Tundra hunting area and the entrance to Keldagrim, we find a man camping. He asks us for a favor. He says that broken ship over there is his one shot at making his ancestors proud. Apparently, every time he tried to row outwards, a storm pushes him back. Anyway, he says he has a map that he'll give us if we help him. All he needs us to do is give his wife and son some carvings and say he sent them from a distant land. He says he'll need some wood from a decent tree first, particularly a windswept tree up the cliff nearby. We climb the hill and chop it down and give him the logs. We deliver them to his wife and son in Releka while hyping up their authenticity. We head back to Olaf and his fire went out. We tell him he should head home before freezing to death. He says he'd rather die. He gives us some driftwood to light the fire with, and we light it. He then asks for some food. We give him the bread his wife gave us. Now we ask for the map. He confesses he believes it's cursed because every time he followed it, he ended up here. It's dangerous and we should be careful, but he gives us a map as promised. It belonged to his grandfather, who was a map maker, and it's the last one he made. We see it clearly shows to go up the nearby hill, not into the waters. We go next to the tree and dig by it. We fall into a cave. We push a boulder out of the way, revealing an entrance right next to Olaf. Anyway, we go back in and follow the cave until we find a room with skeletons and a strange picture door. First, we kill a skeleton for a key, then we pull the levers on the door until we solve it. And it opens for us. Next, we find a shore with more skeletons and a broken bridge. We take a few barrels and ropes and fix the walkway, then find a gate with a bunch of keyholes. We put the key in the hole that matches its shape and proceed to yet another group of skeletons, along with a large broken ship. We open the footlocker at the bottom and a nearby skeleton gets up and attacks us. We put it down easily and search the chest again. Inside are 4 rubies, 20,000 gold, and a note. Quest complete. Level 72 defense. The note says there are more ships farther out to sea that have the better part of the treasure. Alas, we are lost. Our ship has been smashed against the rocks, and we are floundering. Sven has ordered us to make for the hidden caves, but I do not think we will make it alive. The other ships have already gone down, along with the greater share of that cursed treasure. I commend my soul to the gods. Ulfric Longbeard. Spoiler, the next part has, to this day, never been released in either game. Recap. After making contact with the cave goblins, in 2006 we thwarted a plot against them by the Humans Against Monsters group, or H.A.M. Zanuck, an intrepid cave goblin explorer and archer, helped us prevent a catastrophe caused by Sigmund, the Duke of Lumbridge's old advisor. During our adventure, Zanuck was slain by the H.A.M. members and then revived by the Tears of Guthix. Juna, the guardian of the Tears, told her that she is destined to lead all goblins. Quest number 124, Another Slice of Ham. Down the cave goblin tunnels, the doors to Dorgesh Khan have been opened to the public. We head inside and wander around for a bit until we find a dwarf yelling at a resident. They're talking about a train link and needing to complete it as fast as possible. Apparently, some delays have happened because of some sort of discovery. They're building a train between Keldagrim and Dorgesh Khan, the first of its kind. During the construction of the railway, they found artifacts buried during the Dorgeshan Civil War. We tell them we're a certified archaeologist and we'd love to help. We head south through the city and find an entrance to the subway. The whole city is subterranean. The subway? Anyway, we find the dig site along with an old friend.
Hi, RS3 Released!
Hi, Zanuck. What are you doing here?
I'm having a look at the things that are being dug up here. It's really amazing to think that these things were used by my ancestors hundreds of years ago. Tegduck thinks that some of them may even have been brought down here from the surface by the early Dorgashun.
We talk to Tegduck, the foreman, and he hands us a trowel and a brush. We excavate and clean 6 artifacts and hand them all to the foreman. A fragment of armor, a part of a shield, a helmet piece, a sword, a hatchet head, and a mace, with the mace being the only piece that's mostly intact. It's covered in symbols that the foreman would like Zanuck to have deciphered. We head back into the city and speak with the scribe. He says that the writings are much older than he has record for, and recommends we speak with the goblin generals in the goblin village. Before we go, Zanuck recommends we speak with Oldak to see if we can use magic to get there. Oldak the inventor creates us some moving over distance spheres, one to get to Goblin Village, and the other to bring us back here. They work! Kind of. Zanuck introduces herself to the generals and we show them the mace. They say it's a holy mace of the Big High War God, carried by the strongest goblin warriors. They take away the favor of the gods from their foes. She is visibly disappointed at the mention of the Big High War God, and the generals notice this, insulting her, saying she's not a real goblin. Grubfoot interrupts, arguing for Zanuck, saying she's even greater than a goblin. He had a dream where a new goblin came into the village, holding a holy mace, banding all goblins all over the world together. He says she's the chosen commander. Apparently they haven't had one since the God Wars, but a holy book says that someday the chosen commander will come to lead the goblins to victory over the whole world. The general gather all the goblins in the village and tells them to listen to Zanuck. All of a sudden, someone attacks the goblins. Zanuck says she saw the shots come from the tower. We see 2 H.A.M members above us. We sneak around and climb the tower and kill them both. Zanuck calls out to us. Sigmund is attacking her. He throws flash powder onto the ground and holds her hostage, saying she's part of his plan. He's going to take her to the train station. He says they made an entrance in the Lumbridge swamps. He plans to use the train to kill Zanuck and blame the dwarves for it, inciting a war. The generals offer to help by sending their best warriors with us. We head into the Lumbridge swamp and meet the warriors. They say they'll take care of the guards so we can slip past them. We climb into the swamp caves and find a newly built ladder. We climb down and find a H.A.M guard, who alerts the others. We head into a small room, then as the guards pass by, we exit the room and they attack the goblin warriors. Then we see another guard in front of a ladder. We taunt him and then run back to the goblins. And his fervor against goblins distracts him long enough that we run by. Down the ladder, we see Sigmund has Zanuck tied to the tracks. We can feel the train vibrating the whole tunnel. It will be here soon. We fight Sigmund, who boasts that without Zanuck's help, we'll never be able to break through his protection prayers. We use the ancient mace, and he's rebuked by Saradomin, and we take him down easily. But he teleports away, once again. We quickly untie Zanuck, and we jump out of the way of the train at the last instant. We're brought to the opening ceremony of the train station. Quest complete. Recap. In 2006, we were tasked with bringing peace between Lunar Isle and Releka, who have been generational enemies for centuries. We completed the Ritual of the Dream, which had us face aspects of ourselves in various puzzles to learn more about the workings of the world. We were made an honorary member of the Lunar Peoples, and got a new spellbook to boot. Quest number 125, Dream Mentor. In the Rune Essence Mine and Lunar Ore Mine, we find a crevice that we can squeeze through. Inside, we find a man lying on the ground. We check and find he's still alive, but barely. We feed him an enormous amount of cake, and he wakes up. We talk to him a bit and lift his spirits and feed him another equally enormous amount of cake, and he gets further up. He introduces himself as Cyrusus. He was attacked by Sukas and ran down into the cave. He's still in pretty bad shape, so we head back to the bank and grab even more cakes than before, and shove him down, then cheer him up some more. and he gets enough energy to stand on his own. He says he's an explorer. He's traveled all over RuneScape, the wilderness, the desert, Apital, and the Tazar City. He's a master smith, farmer, and chef. We ask him how it's possible he had so much trouble with Asuka. He admits he's not a master of combat and asks to change the subject, clearly embarrassed about something. He asks us for some armor so he can make it out of the cave. He asks us to go to the bank and withdraw his armor from his friend that recently started working there. We go to the bank again. This time standing behind the counter is Birdseye Jack, the navigator from the pirate ship that brought us here. Anyway, he hands us a chest to carry Cyrus's gear. We fill it up with some mage gear and head back to him. He doesn't like it, so we change a few pieces to be better suited for melee. Kinda. We feed him a bunch more cake and keep complimenting him until he feels in top shape. He admits he's afraid of combat. He can't gather the courage to fight monsters. He's learned how to fight, but each time he tries, he's overwhelmed with fear and runs away. Part of the reason he came to Lunar Isle is to use the dream ceremony to overcome his fears. He asks if we'll accompany him to the Oniromancer. We head out to her and Cyrus teleports behind us. He asks for her help in getting over his fear and she suggests the potion of shared dreaming. That will send us both into his dream, but there's a catch. If we die in the dream, we die for real. Further, if either one of us die, we both die. She gives us a vial and tells us to fill it with a ground astral rune and goutweed. Then pour it over the lit brazier. We smash an astral rune and then grind it down and mix it with the potion. Then we meet Cyrus in the ritual chamber and head into his dream. We're met with a horrible nightmare of his fears manifesting as a gigantic tentacled monster. We strike it down with Cyrus's fleeting assistance, and then it manifests into some sort of shelled monster. Then we kill that as well. It morphs into a gelatinous gorilla-like creature, which we take down. Then into a small worm. Which we kill, and then the game glitched and we don't get to see the cutscene. Nice. Well, it was supposed to be him overcoming his fear, realizing it's not so scary, and stomping it out of his mind. Literally. We wake up and head back to the Oniromancer. Cyrus thanks us and bestows onto us additional lunar spells that he's learned spending time here, and bids us farewell. Quest complete. Quest number 126, Grim Tales. South of Taverley is a man who says he's selling magic beans named Silas. We ask him what they do. He beats around the bush and says we just need to plant them and water them for the magic to work. We ask how much they cost. He says he's a collector of rare and unusual things. He's looking for a griffin feather from Grimnash, the griffin that nests on White Wolf Mountain. He warns that Grimnash has a nasty temper. He also wants the helmet of Rupert the Beard, a dwarf that lives in the tower between Goblin Village and Ice Mountain. We ask him what else he has in his collection. He brags that he has the second eye of a two-eyed cyclops, as well as a hornless unicorn. Impressive. We head up White Wolf Mountain and find Grimnash's nest. He asks what we're doing here. We tell him he's a great and mighty griffin. He tells us he's tired, but the wolves nearby howl at night, keeping him awake. We offer to help him sleep. He says that when he was little, his mother would tell him a bedtime story to help him sleep. We tell him the story of a graveyard filled with undead, with a skeleton named Skullrot. He was insane. One day, he came across a gnome whose foot was caught in a gravestone. He grabbed the gnome's hair and yanked him out, breaking his foot as he did. Skullrot drugged the poor gnome back to his grave and tried to strangle him to death. But the little gnome broke free and attempted to crawl away. He found a small hole he could just barely fit into, and as he crawled in, he met 2 yellow, slitted eyes, a red tongue, and 2 rows of teeth. Skullrot didn't get his dinner, but something else, something much, much worse, did. The end! Grimnesh loved the story so much he fell right to sleep. We take one of his feathers. Next, we head out of Towerly and find the tower nearby. We talk to the woman outside and ask who she is. She takes this as an insult and sends us away. Instead, we head to the back of the tower and find a break in the wall and climb over it to the backyard. We see a drain pipe and we yell into it. It talks back. We ask who he is. He says he's Rupert the Beard. He says he's stuck in the tower. The princess out front is holding him prisoner. We tell him we should try to climb up and say, "Rupert, Rupert, let down your beard." He drops down his beautiful red locks and we climb up. He says the princess has a witch relative. A gnome friend of Rupert's named Winkin disappeared while delivering alga roots to Draenor, and he was last seen talking to a witch. He learned of the princess's witch relative and tried to get close to her to get information. She invited him to this tower, then locked him in, knocked him out with gas, stole all of his stuff, and he's been here since. We talk to her, and she tells us she's Princess Miyazurka. Oh, with a silent Q, of course. We ask her about the dwarf. She says she's waiting for someone to come get him, specifically her witch relative. She captured him because he was snooping around and the witch will find out why. We ask if there's anything that will change her mind. She says she recently lost the pendant at the relative's home. She dropped it and a mouse stole it from right under her. If we can get it for her, she'll let the dwarf go. We ask for a key and she gives us one, and we ask where the house is. She says it's south of Taverley. We've been there before. We B&E again and go into the cellar and find some sheet music. We take it and play the music on the piano, and a compartment opens up. Inside are 2 pieces of paper and 2 shrunken alga roots. The first paper is a to-do list, and apparently she's still sore that we killed her experiment Fritz. Oh well. The second paper is a recipe to create a shrink-me-quick potion using a taromin leaf, water, and a shrunken alga root. They only work if you drink them in an area prepared with glyphs. We drink it near the mouse hole and shrink down. We kill a mouse, then climb through the walls of the house. Kill one final mouse and... wow, that's a big piece of cheese. And grab the pendant. We teleport out and the potion wears off. We deliver the pendant and she releases Rupert. He puts on his armor and comes outside. He gives us his helmet and says he'll continue his search for Winkin. We return to Silas and give him the items he asked for in return for the magic beans. He says they're specifically crafted for this mound of earth right by us. We just need to plant and water them and they'll grow into an enormous plant. He says rumor has it the ultimate collectible item is in the land of the clouds, a goblin made of gold. Apparently a goblin that loved gold so much forced other goblins to mine it and smelt it day in and day out, until one day they turned on him and he fell into his own molten gold. He managed to survive and jump into water, solidifying himself permanently. Somehow it got into the Cloud City held by a giant. We plant and water the beans and watch them as they grow into a giant stalk. We prepare for battle, then climb to the Cloud City. The particularly huge giant Grodd is standing before us. We fight him. His screams cause us to instinctively run in fear, but we eventually take him down. We loot the goblin and take it to Silas. He says we need to chop the stalk down before the giant's friends try to climb down for revenge. First, we shrink it with the extra potion we made earlier, then we chop it down. Silas thanks us and says he needed Rupert's helmet because inside is a special potion made by a witch south of Taverley. Apparently, it's a hair tonic, which is why Rupert's beard grew so quickly. He gives us his helmet and keeps the potion. Quest complete. 62 thieving. Recap. In 2002, we helped the legendary King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table attain the Holy Grail. Then in 2003, we helped solve the mystery of the murder of Lord Sinclair in his own mansion. His rotten children were all suspects, but ultimately we were able to find plenty of evidence to incriminate his daughter Carol. Then in 2005, we went off on a series of small favors in exchange for red jungle logs with the antique salesman in Shiloh Village. One of the favors was freeing an assistant of Wizard Cromperty from a cave wall after she accidentally teleported inside of it. Cromperty gave us an Animate Rock spell, which saved her from being turned to stone. Quest number 127, King's Ransom. Back at the Sinclair mansion, we talk to our favorite gossip. He tells us the whole Sinclair family left the mansion. Anna is in the Sears Village jail waiting trial. Wait, Anna? That's not who we had arrested. Carol was the murderer. Apparently all that we provided was thrown out because the family provided some damning evidence that proved her guilt. To top it all off, and what makes it weird that they've left, is King Arthur is also missing, along with all the Knights of the Round Table. We decided to look into it, and the gossip also didn't say that the guard nearby is investigating it as well. We talked to the guard, and he reminds us that King Arthur's castle was gifted to them by Lord Sinclair, and the murder may well have just been the first step in the Sinclairs reclaiming their castle. Apparently the Sears Village Council has forbidden guards from entering the mansion or the castle until they investigate further. That's where we come in. We're not a guard, and we could break into wherever we want, kinda. We break in the same way we did last time and talk to Hobbs, the butler. Apparently he's not allowed to talk to anyone outside the Sinclair family, and he's not to leave or he'd be killed. We talked to Louisa, and she says they placed a curse on them and if they leave they'll be killed instantly. In the dining room we find a scrap of paper by the fireplace. It's half a note. It says, "Meet at Camel, will storm, shill inshore W, the servants, and silence." We can assume the first line is meet at Camelot, and the second line is will storm the castle, but who is she, and what is she ensuring? Maybe whoever she is responsible for the curse put on the servants. We head upstairs and talk with Mary, who doesn't have much to say to us. In the library, we spot a blank change of address form sitting on the table, and a Black Knight helm on a bookcase. We take all we found and show it to the guard. He reminds us that Morgan Le Fay employs Black Knights. Maybe that's the she the note is referring to? Would certainly connect them to King Arthur and Camelot. He says he'll take the evidence to the council, who will convene in a month or so. He once again hints that we're not bound by the council and recommends we learn about the Sinclair family history. We talk to the gossip and he tells us Lord Sinclair was a great man, friend of the late King Ulthus, the father of Lothus and Tyrus, and he was a great servant of the kingdom. All the children were selfish cretins, however, and after the murder of their father were strangely quiet until now. The mansion is new, constructed after Lord Sinclair donated his castle to Camelot. The children never forgave him for it. As for Anna, she's in jail and nobody is willing to represent her. We head to the courthouse and speak with her. She tells us she's innocent. Her brother is the true murderer. The evidence provided is forged. We cut to the point and ask her where her family went. She says she'll tell us how to find them in exchange for representing her in court. Apparently the hard evidence her family provided was her brother saying, "I saw her in the room." She believes she's the scapegoat who takes the fall while her family escapes with the inheritance. She says she knows a way into Camelot and she'll tell us how to enter if we prove her innocence, or at least keep her out of prison. She says we should talk to the servants in the mansion and gives us a piece of a thread that belonged to the criminal. Odd. We head back to the mansion and ask everyone about the thread. The butler seems much more forthcoming now, even though he was forbidden to talk just a few minutes ago. He says the thread could be Anna's or David's. Louisa says the same thing, as does Mary, Donovan, and Stanford. Strange that the evidence is pointing to David now instead of Carol. Anyway, we asked the butler about the dagger. He says Anna never touched it, but David did. We talked to the maid again, and she mentions she still has nightmares thinking about the night of the murder. We asked her to describe it to us. She says she was delivering Lord Sinclair's dinner when she discovered the body. She mentioned she passed by one of his sons, but not Anna. Lastly, we talked to Pierre, the dog handler, and asked him about the thread. He says the same thing the others said. We ask him about the poison, and he tells us something we didn't realize back in 2003. The poison is exceptionally potent. Any of them could have used just a tiny bit of the poison to kill Lord Sinclair, and still had plenty left over to do their chore. That means that the fact that Carol didn't do it means she's lazy and a liar, but not necessarily a murderer. If what the servant said is true, then David must be guilty and Anna innocent. We head down into the courtroom and begin the trial.
This court is now in session. This trial is to determine the guilt or innocence of Anna Sinclair for the murder of Lord Sinclair. Is the prosecution ready?
The prosecution is ready, Your Honor.
Is the defense ready?
The defense is ready, Your Honor.
Very well. The prosecution may present its case.
Members of the jury, I'm gonna present you with evidence that decisively proves Anna Sinclair is a murderer. First, the dagger. The dagger was found stabbed into Lord Sinclair's body. It has the fingerprints of Anna Sinclair all over it. Second, the thread. This thread was found at the scene of the crime. It matches Anna Sinclair's clothes. Last but certainly not least, the poison that actually killed Lord Sinclair. It was found at the scene of the crime and had been bought by the defendant. Members of the jury, this woman is guilty.
Thank you, prosecutor. Who would you like to call as a witness?
The defense calls the Sinclair's dog handler. What's your name and occupation?
Beer. I'm the dog handler.
What can you tell me about the poison?
The poison salesman came around the mansion. Practically everyone bought some.
Can you tell me exactly who bought poison from him?
Each of the Sinclair kids did. They all had chores they were meant to do. I had a chat with that salesman. Oh boy. You have any idea how strong that stuff was? Just a small amount would be enough to kill a cow.
So only a small amount of poison would be enough to kill a man, I suppose.
Yeah, I suppose it would.
Therefore, any one of the Sinclairs who bought poison could have done their chore and poisoned Lord Sinclair as well. Just because my client was too lazy to do her chore doesn't mean she poisoned Lord Sinclair.
Order! Order!
The defense calls the Sinclair's butler. What's your name and occupation?
Hobbs, I am the butler.
Did you ever see Anna in possession of the dagger that was found embedded in Lord Sinclair's body?
No, I only saw Lord Sinclair handle it. It was on display in the library.
No one else ever touched it.
Well, now that you have me thinking about it, I believe I saw Frank handle it once. I'm not really sure what he was doing with it, but I do remember him looking at it.
You say you saw someone other than Anna handle the dagger?
Yes, I am.
Not only has a person other than my client been identified handling the weapon, but the dagger was within easy access to anyone in the household. My client's fingerprints could have been planted on it by another party.
Order! Order!
The defense calls the Sinclair's maid. What's your name and occupation?
Mary. I'm the maid.
Where did you last see Anna on that fateful night?
I was in the kitchen with Hobbs and Louisa, helping with dinner. They gave me Lord Sinclair's meal. I went to deliver it, and I found him.
What about on the way to the study? Did you see Anna?
No, I didn't pass Anna. I'm sure of that. I think I passed one of the other young Sinclairs, though. A man.
Really? So you can't place Anna at the murder scene, but there was a man there? David, Bob, or Frank?
I can't remember. I just remember it being a man.
Indeed. Well, if my client can't be placed at the murder scene, and there is evidence that a man was there, I think it casts a great deal of doubt on the case.
Order! Order!
The defense calls the Sinclair's handyman. What's your name and occupation?
Donovan, I'm the handyman.
Could you tell us who this thread belongs to?
That thread could be Anna's or David's. They always seem to be wearing the same color.
So you can't say for certain who this thread belongs to?
No, sorry, I can't.
Then this thread could have come from either of Anna or David's clothes, and they had many of this color, a fact that would be known to anyone of the household.
Sure, anybody would have seen that.
Then the thread could have been planted by someone else to throw suspicion on my client. I think we could all see that this thread is very questionable evidence.
To RS3 Released.
Order! Order! I believe we've heard enough. Would the jury please pronounce their verdict?
Not guilty.
Very well. Anna Sinclair, you are hereby declared not guilty by a jury of your peers. You are free to go.
We talk to our now free defendant and ask about the deal we had. She says she's going to be put back on her cell for paperwork and she'll discuss it with us there. She tells us to walk around the edge of Camelot towards the back of the castle. We get into through the hedges by pulling the arm of the statue there. She says she's not going and doesn't want to see her family. We find the statue and pull its arm. It puts us right into the table room in the castle, and Anna is waiting for us, talking to David. She asks him what they're going to do with us. We demand answers. Morgan Le Fay shows up and clubs us over the head with her staff. We wake up in a jail cell with all the knights and Merlin, but Arthur is nowhere to be found. We talk with Merlin. We ask where Arthur is. He says Morgan turned him into a granite statue, and he was taken away by her Black Knights. We ask how the Sinclairs got involved with her. He says she learned about the Sinclairs' bitter relationship with Camelot, and she teamed up with them after hearing about their father's death. The Kinshra, or Black Knights, led an assault on Camelot, and the Sinclairs claimed the castle once again, and Morgan stole the Holy Grail. We ask him what the plan is. He admits Morgan stripped him of his magic. He says that reclaiming Camelot from the Sinclairs will be the easy part, once he gets out of here, since they're cowards and he could trick them without issue. But he needs to get out quietly so Morgan Le Fay can't tell them he's powerless right now. We ask him where the Grail is. He says in all likelihood it's in Keep Le Fay, disguised and booby-trapped. He says we can find it after breaking all the other knights out of jail. They'll keep the Kinshra busy while we look for the Grail. As for King Arthur, he says he's been taken to the Black Knight's fortress. We'll have to find him and undo the spell that turned him into stone. He says he doesn't know how to do it, but his friend Wizard Cromperty does. Luckily, we still have the spell from one small favor that he gave us to free Petra from a cave wall. We notice a small window above us, just out of reach. Lancelot sees it too. We call over to everyone, and they make a knight pyramid, allowing Merlin to escape. Next, we see a guard tending to his nice hair. We manage to telegrab a hairpin from him without anyone noticing. We use it to unlock the gate and make our way up to the castle. The knights waste no time in engaging the Kinshra. We find Sir Mordred at the top, and he attacks us! Wow. Well, good thing Morgan wasn't here to see that. She was really protective of him. Anyway, there's a bunch of containers on the table with a riddle hidden on it.
You seek the grail of old, but no longer is it a goblet of gold. Among these 9 you will find what you seek, but be careful and don't peek. A wrong choice will expel you, so consider carefully each clue. 3 boxes contain only air. Beware of 3 boxes, for danger lurks there. 2 hold only rubbish, but would fool you with disguise. Only 1 box holds your prize. Clues will give the information you need. Rubbish always sits to the right of danger. Pay heed. There is nothing helpful in boxes great in height, and boxes on either end will not end your plight. A tall or small box will only bring you anger, but a square box will not put you in danger.
So that means there's nothing in the 3 tall boxes. The 2 boxes on the end don't have what we're looking for. The answer has to be the purple one right here. We got it. We head to Ardorian and ask Cromperty about the situation. He says we'll need to add a counterspell to Morgan's Vex. Apparently, King Arthur's most prized possession and a piece of granite will do. Luckily, we already have all that. We head to the Black Knight's fortress. For those of you who haven't seen this yet because you've only played Old School, it's much different. We haven't had to come here since they removed the Black Knight's fortress quest, but here we are. Welcome to the new Black Knight's fortress. We wear a bronze med helm and an iron chain body to pretend to be a guard. And sneak inside. We find a ladder leading into the cellar and climb down, finding King Arthur unguarded. We cast a spell on him and he's freed. We give him our disguise, which is somehow retrofitted to 2007 on him and looks way better than it did on us, and he tells us to meet him back in Camelot. We teleport out and find the knights and their king back where they belong. Arthur tells us Merlin scared out the Sinclairs with a few puffs of smoke and frogs. Quest complete. He rewards us with a lamp. Let's use it on Herblore. Nice. Level 59. And there we have it. We're now in the same update that Old School RuneScape was released on. The schism is upon us. Thank you all for watching. It's been a great journey so far. I'll see you next time as we begin to depart from Old School RuneScape and towards RuneScape 3.